Consortium includes Uganda Radio Network, UMWA, and Uganda Editors Guild. We are lucky to have a funding partner that has given us an opportunity to design a program with the flexibility that allows us to iterate from time to time to be able to achieve the objectives of really supporting media, supporting journalists to become, responsible reporters, responsible media houses, and we continue to create initiatives within this program towards achieving this goal. And one of the things that is very fundamental to what we do is evidence. Omar has presented, data here about the coverage of the portrayal of women in the electoral space. And ACME is also collecting data and continuing the program of data collection that we've been doing for several years that looks at the media coverage of elections on many, many different variables. And this evidence, as it will be shared over the weeks and over the months before and after the elections, is really intended to inform discussions like this particular one. Because one of the things, oftentimes the media gets a beating, but a lot of the time, a lot of the beating that the media gets is not really grounded in evidence. So we're hoping that whether it is advocacy, whether it is influencing, policy and all those sorts of things, our intention is to provide you with the evidence so that people who want to support the media can support the media on the basis of evidence. People who want to defend the media, or even people who want to critique the media, and they have legitimate criticism, as we have said, all this should be able to be grounded in evidence, and that is what is that partnership. This partnership is really doing, and we're doing a significant amount of work to understand the dynamics of the elections. How women feature in these elections, how minorities are featured in these elections, how different segments of society are featured in these elections, and this evidence is fed back to newsrooms, is fed back, to advocates and anybody who has an interest in the media, who has an interest in the information ecosystem that supplies, the information that citizens rely on to make their decisions, about leaders, whether they're political or civic leaders. So under this particular program, what we call, as I said, M-Space, we'll continue to provide opportunities for having these sorts of interactions, these multi-stakeholder engagements, so that we can really get to some common ground on the issues that affect us.
So the women in Uganda have about 4 or 5 challenges in terms of women political participation. The first one being financial instability, that women do not wield a financial muscle. They will always want the support of their fellow male gender to give them that money to participate in politics. There is data to serve and to substantiate this position. There is data that exists that substantiates the fact that women are less financially empowered than their male counterparts. But as we deal with the financial issue, there is also less training for women. Very few women are qualified and skilled to serve in political positions. See, before you serve, you become a vice president, you become a minister, you become a member of parliament, you need to have certain skills. You need to have gone to school. You need to understand how policies work. You need to understand how budgets work. You need to understand how the constitution works. You need to understand the whole governance spectrum and how to deal with the governance spectrum. Now, the governance spectrum is a very delicate space. It is a space where every woman will be pulled down. Why? The moment you rise up, there will be people who are unhappy that you have made it to where you are. And because they are unhappy, they begin stories. They begin to pull you down with stories. It happened to Kamala Harris. As soon as Kamala Harris of the United States said she wanted to be the president of the United States, they brought on all her old boyfriends. They ran all videos concerning her private life. They didn't do it for Donald Trump. And it's not like Donald Trump did not have issues in his closet, because later when he became president and he was a problem to them and closed very many enterprises, they soon went for him as well and did what they had done to Kamala Harris. So for the woman, she's always a soft target in terms of her personal life, being attacked because she's in the political spectrum. Before you go into that governance space, it is important to understand how does it work. You're going to be attacked. You're going to be personally attacked. How do you soar above those personal attacks? It's going to be the skills you have. It's going to be the knowledge you have. It is going to be the focus on policy and what took you into that governance space that is going to keep you going. It's not the attacks that are going to come, because they will always say you are sleeping with a certain man, a certain person is the one who is supporting you because you've worked so well with them. It will always come. So when you're going there, you should be aware. What happens with most people? Like, for example, the Honorable Nantaba is no longer there, and yet there is a time she was shining. The male gender and other women actors will cause women to stand against each other and hate each other and fight each other, such that other new players come on board, or they disorganize the status quo. Once you are onto the governance scene, you should be open to the fact that you're going to be fought, because you're in public. The moment you start to serve the public, you are a public scrutiny candidate. The public will scrutinize you for what you're saying, for what you know, for what you understand, how you say it, how you understand it. Now, for you to try and guard yourself and say, I don't want to talk to the media, I will not talk to the media, is not helpful. Actually, the more you talk to the media, the more the media appreciates you, the more the media understands your agenda as a national agenda, because you didn't go into governance for personal agenda. You went there for a national agenda. That is the other thing that women need to know. That when you're going, don't go for personal agenda. Don't go because you want to enrich yourself.
I want to also request that we look beyond the women, but the issues that pertain to women. I had highlighted my speech about the gender blindness of the conversation. If you listen to the conversation within this election cycle, you don't get the impression that we are talking about the gender, different gender. You tend to think we are homogeneous citizens. The issues that affect us are general. At least the youth are coming up, but the issues of women, in my view, are not coming out in the conversations that are shaping the election. So we need to interrogate and look at the political messaging and the manifestos. How are these including issues that affect women? From the conversation, I picked 3 things which I think I find critical. One is the stereotyping. Women are less knowledgeable, they are less capable, they are less available, they are less responsive, they are the less of the less. And I think we need to start by looking at it from the other side. They are not actually less, but we need to understand the challenges they might face, and we find ways of working around these challenges. They might not be available at that time, but how do you get them at the time they are available? Because we know the challenges they face. So we need to change and don't also continue with the narratives that make them the less, that they are not able to. So secondly is the gender roles, I think came out clearly. Family, child care, all this. I think we don't need to be blind to that because it is a reality. And lastly is the capacity that we need to build. I want to applaud UMWA for building capacity for these women. Thank you so much. So we need to invest as civil society and all actors to build the capacity. And lastly is the issue of the cyber harassment that came up. I have experienced harassment. I think that is the worst time you can ever want to think about yourself if you are attacked in that space. It's a very, very, very hostile environment. So I imagine a woman who has been harassed in that space may never want to appear. I want to call on the women movement. Please, I think we need to defend these women because it's an isolated world. Sometimes you see a woman being harassed and you feel like, where are the women to defend this woman? Don't mind whatever they're saying. I think we need to stand as women in this space. The only kind you can pick is if you get others defend you. It is very difficult to defend yourself in that space. So I think as the women movement, we need to be alert to this and defend our women.
Where does the responsibility lie? Why the barriers? Why aren't we participating? Is affirmative action not delivering what it should have? I think it has to a certain extent. If you just look at the percentage of women in parliament, so now we have the quantity. We need to work on the quality. I believe to make a president, we need quality. We need resilience. We need resources. Those things that we are dilly-dallying about, and like the last male panelist, he gave us a hard blow that we are not here to do. Yes, they are not here to massage us. We must earn this space. But even going forward, whichever space we occupy, we should earn this space. So the issue is that what are we doing about it? And what is our role as the media? Where are the barriers? I think it goes without saying that legally, there's nothing in the legal provisions of this country that prevents any woman from standing for presidency or any of these other spaces. But for me, if you look at the question of citizenship, age, the signatures, the party endorsement, why aren't women there? There's nothing that stops us from being there. But if you examine a little closer inside, the practice really forbids women from participating. And I'd really like to focus on this a bit, of course mindful of the time. The patriarchal political culture. Leadership is always viewed as masculine space. And when people like Patricia speak, here in Uganda you like to say, Yakura Ansajja. Yes? You like saying that, male-like, yeah? So female aspirants are often, poked on. Everybody has said here about those games they play, your dressing, how you look like. And then the failure to appreciate that if you call Patricia, who has to pick her kid at 3, and she says, unfortunately, I can't at such short notice, it is a problem. Affirmative action has its pluses, but now we must work on the context of stepping away from those boxes and trying to be mainstream. So these interlocking barriers help explain why even the Constitution, however much it seems progressive, women remain absent from the highest level of political competition. And the role of the media colleagues should start right there in changing the consciousness, our agenda setting role. What are we doing with our agenda setting role? Are we reinforcing the status quo, or are we making a difference?
My name is Ajat Safia Nalwe Junko. I've been a member of parliament for the last 15 years. Of course, chairing the Equal Opportunities Committee and the Human Rights Committee as the founder also. But now I was appointed by the President to chair the Equal Opportunities Commission. And the experiences that have been shared here by the women politicians and women with disabilities and the media practitioners reveal glaring gaps in promoting gender equality. However, a free and fair election is not possible without media, and therefore media is a critical aspect of democracy. I would like to say, to reiterate the point, that whatever we have discussed, we need flexibility with media coverage. I give my personal experience. With CBS Radio, they don't have an elevator. But whenever they want a coverage with me, I can go with my car, sit downstairs, and then I make a presentation. Even with NTV, I don't know whether they are here, they normally come to my home. As the former speaker said, you cannot just run on me because I have already a program on me. You cannot just bump on me and say that I come and make a presentation. In Uganda, we should appreciate that we have the Constitution. which actually gives us a lot of space with affirmative action, as you have said. We should not say that affirmative, I wouldn't like to agree with my colleague that affirmative action puts us in one corner. Actually, affirmative action has made us to achieve a lot. I don't know whether Margaret and Tim would be interested, and maybe other women players, other civil society organizations would be interested to document the achievements we have got under affirmative action. I just want to take an example of myself. Would you ever imagine that a person like me, a person with a disability, can be elected to parliament and I go and shake the entire parliament? You remember when I was actually advocating for the certificate of gender and equity compliance? Everybody listened to me, and actually when we are passing the Public Finance Management Act, I got that certificate through. And I'm telling you, Parliament of Uganda, the budget of this country can never be passed without that certificate. No agency, no budget of any agency, ministry, department can be passed unless it has been assessed by Equal Opportunities Commission, recommended to Minister of Finance to be given a certificate of gender and equity compliance, and at parliamentary level, if you don't have that certificate, your budget can never be passed. So we should commend President Museveni. We should commend affirmative action, and we should be able to build on the achievements of affirmative action.
Happy to be here, Dr. Kayongo Aisha, my name. I hold a doctorate in peace governance and development from the United Nations University. I've been privileged to be in so many workshops, nationally and internationally, but this is one thing I want us as a country to appreciate. We normally have these very good workshops, we have these very good discussions and interactions, but at the end of the day, we don't implement. We are very good in executing our English command, but at the end of the day, then what? My questions would be, why are we here? What is it that we want to do? For those who have done researches, I've had quite many projects that have run for years, but again, we're not seeing improvement. So my thinking would be, even for this workshop right now, I would wish to have seen a rapporteur team that is supposed to be taking us through the action plans. We are going to live here, we are done with this workshop, then what? Our issue is women representation is not that much visible. Thank you so very much. They are not visible. Then as a country, what do? We are so much focused on the mainstream media. We are having issues with agencies. For those who are so much interested into media, get on to TikTok, social media. A lot is happening on there. Then I had one of the panelists talking about us having like those laws executed, because then however much we are going to talk about people, maybe the negative reporting is quite something that is very familiar to us and we should all must have to appreciate. But then what do we need to do? How are we going to do it? Can I see us forge a way forward on how best we are going to make improvements into this? And for the next workshops, perhaps maybe we may have to have in the future, we come up with an implementable action plan.